Thank you all so much for coming. I've been really praying about this. And I said, you know what? I'm going to invite some of my people, and we're going to have a conversation about what's going on in America, how we feel. And so I want to dive straight into it, because everyone who watched my show, for those of y'all know, I just dive straight into it. So we can go straight into it. And I have some questions. We may not make it through all of them, but here goes the first question. 2020 was a year to remember, from racial issues, COVID-19, a lot of different things. And I want to ask you this question. What is one thing you learned from last year when it comes to us as a community?
When I think of Blackness, I think of power.
Standing out no matter what you're faced against.
I'm LaDonna Boyd. I'm the 5th generation president CEO of R.H. Boyd Publishing Corporation.
My name is Wesley Smith. I'm 24 years old, and I'm a personal trainer in Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
My name is Tanisha. I am in marketing. What comes to mind for me is excellence.
I'm Mignon Francois. I'm a mother, and I'm an entrepreneur.
Edward Weston, some would say pastor, but that's a title.
My name is Mikkel Davis. I'm 18 years old. I am an artist and a designer of my own brand, Art2Wear, at art2wear.com.
2020, one word, death. Lost a lot of people, a lot of loved ones, a lot of friends. Death is always around us. It's a reality, but it was in the forefront 2020.
Honestly, when I think of 2020, I think beginning.
When I hear the word Blackness, I think of beauty.
Strength, power.
When I hear the word Blackness, what comes to mind is me.
What is one thing you learned from last year when it comes to us as a community? Like, what is one thing in the Black community you learned? Anybody?
As a Black community, depending on the government, is something that I feel like many of us Black people are not doing any longer. Also, I have friends who have also started their own business, like myself. Going full-time as a personal trainer in July of last year, once the pandemic started in March, it was a risk, it was eye-opening, but it gave me this inspiration, this fuel that I have in order to succeed and just not depend on paycheck to paycheck. As a Black man, being creative, thinking outside of the box, not waiting hand and foot on knowledge and going to get it and owning in on it and not giving up.
Boy, y'all diving in.
I'm not gonna take the same direction just because 2020 was very eye-opening for me when I think about our community. It showed me that we're not as conscious as we proclaim to be. We're still very compulsive. We use that word woke very fluidly, and the reality is we're compulsive.
Ooh.
They can put anything on television, anything happen, and we quickly react to it. I just think that oftentimes, in order to get us to move in a direction, it's not hard. It's like pulling a string to get the results that any one group of people, and I'm not talking race, I'm talking system, any one group of people, in order to get my community to respond or react, it is not difficult at all because we're so compulsive. And I think that as a people going forward, we have to use this at a greater capacity and become more conscious of what's going on around us and the powers that are behind it. I could say a whole lot there, but we have to grow in that area. As a people, we have to grow in that area.
I definitely feel what you're saying. And like you said, woke, that's a word that people use so loosely. And like you said, getting people to do something is just as simple as pulling a string. I mean, look at what happened with the toilet paper. Like, I had never been in a situation before where I went to the grocery store and there was nothing on the shelves. You know, there was meat shortages and, you know, all of the vegan stuff was gone. Like, people were just buying any and everything. Like, like, why are you buying gluten-free flour? Like, that was very interesting to me just to be in that situation where you see this kind of stuff happening on movies and you never really imagine it happening in real life or in your lifetime. But to go back to the question that you asked about what we learned in 2020, I want to play, a different card. What did the world learn about us as a people, as specifically Black people?
Oh, my.
The world, with the Black squares and all of this, we're listening and all of that on Instagram. We been lit. Like
Come on, man.
you want to help Black businesses, support Black businesses, make this list of, this Black-owned dry cleaners, this Black-owned bakery, this Black-owned grocery store. Go shop here. Tell your friends to shop here. We're allies. We've been here.
Yeah.
So, the world found out that we were lit, and we been lit. So
Yeah, I know that's right. Say that one more time. We what?
we been lit.
Come on. Yeah,
Oh, Lord.
so
You like that
good.
lit word, huh?
I do. I got a special place in my heart.
Special place in your
It
heart.
does.
Little sis, you graduated last year. What is one thing you learned as a high school student who graduated in 2020?
Well, I say in general, what I learned was I can't expect anybody to advocate for myself. And I learned a while ago that you can't expect somebody to understand what they don't understand. And it was easy for me to attack people when they didn't understand what we go through, what I go through. And so when they say something that I thought was ignorant, it was, why would you think that? Why would you think that? And I learned quickly, they don't know anything else. So I learned that I can't attack people anymore, and it's more education. And this year just proved that even more, because I had friends calling me and saying, hey, can you explain this to me? And asking me questions that, for me, I was like, how could you not understand this? Like, it's right there, 2 + 2 = 4. But they didn't understand. I realized that nobody's gonna get it if I don't tell them. And I have to advocate for myself, and I have to speak up and say what's on my mind, and it's not my job to make white people comfortable.
That's good.
Y'all dropping some good stuff. I want to go back to the question that you posed. You said, let's flip it. What did the world learn about the Black community? And you said they learned, one, that the Black community is already lit. We've been here. I'm curious. I'm going to pose that to all of us here. What is one thing the world should have learned about us in 2020? Or heck, period. We still have a lot going on right now. Let's be real.
That we're never comfortable.
Ooh, that we're never comfortable. Break that down, bro.
I feel like not only myself, after just graduating after a year, how well I've seen my friend group adapt. How I seen my friends start talking about stocks and real estate and all these other accessible things that, our people didn't really have accessibility to, in the generations before us. Everything is so accessible. Knowledge is accessible. You can look up anything you want to on the internet. So it's like, it's free. At this point, education, you don't have to go to college just to get an education. You can learn pretty much anything through certifications and trades and YouTube. I feel like as a community, you see so many young, Black men and women creating their own businesses, starting YouTube channels, whatever it may be. We're thriving, evolving. Our minds are being challenged. Some of us is taking it as that, when you see all of this. And like Weston was saying, that being able to adapt is important.
Yeah.
Just being able to just adapt.
All right, we're lit. We're never comfortable. Somebody got somebody else? Something else?
I think creativity is king.
That's
As
good.
we, our demographic is given so little, but yet we're able to do so much. You think of the phenomenon of, Black Twitter. That's what's literally gotten us through so much that's gone on as of recent history. And just being creative, being able to adapt, like what's been mentioned, and just ingenuity is king as well. Again, we're given the least, we're able to do the most with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
If there's anything that 2020 should have shown the world, is we're here. We're not going anywhere. It doesn't matter about who's in office. It doesn't matter if, the police treat us right or wrong. Black Lives Matter is not new. That's been, in the 1800s, Black Lives Matter was around. It was just not called Black Lives Matter. They were saying we're human too. You understand what I'm saying? And so, but we're not going anywhere. And I think that this generation has shown the world also that we're tired of talking. You know, if it means taking action, that this young generation has shown that we're willing to do that as well. But the latter part of 2020 has also shown that we're not the thugs. I think that has been shown as well. We're not the people that history, quote unquote, American history has portrayed us to be. Now I purposely lock my doors when an elderly white woman walked by my car, just so she can see how it feels.
Sorry.
Just being honest, because we're not who you think we are. You know, going back to the same thing with the media, there's a narrative that has been portrayed about our people since the beginning of time. That narrative has been force-fed down American throats. And they believe, unfortunately, we believe what we see. Unfortunately, our reality is television, propaganda. And because that becomes our reality, we act and react based on what we think is reality, and the reality is that that's not the truth. And so I think 2020 has shown the world that we're not going anywhere. We can go there if that's where you want to go, but we're saying the same thing we've always been saying. We don't have to be made equal. Just don't take away the little bit that we do. We've always done more with less. But then when we make less work, then you stop that too. That's all we're saying.
To piggyback off of what you were saying, I think one thing that they should have learned is that we won't be stopped. We won't be defeated, and we're not scared. I mean, to be Black in America is to live every day in a state of fear. And so when we're fighting for our life to get away from that fear, we're not scared. We will do what it takes. And I think you definitely see that with the younger generations and a lot of the protests that are going on. Yeah, we're not going to be defeated. They've thrown everything at us. And one form of oppression has changed into another form of oppression, whether it was slavery to segregation to mass incarceration to police brutality has been here the whole time. So we've seen it all. It keeps changing. You keep throwing stuff at us. We're not going anywhere, and we're not scared. We're not going to be defeated or stopped.
Yeah.
I want to add something to that. I think that if they didn't know, now they do, that I'm good. Not because I'm Black. I'm good because I am good. And I think that a lot of times people want to, just like Tanisha was bringing up, I'm really grateful for the eye-opening experiences the world has had. But something tells me that this is not new. If I believe the Bible that tells me that nothing is new under the sun, then I can look to my past to inform my future. There was a time when God got tired of his enslaved children being mistreated. And eventually, he brought plagues upon the earth and said, let my people go. And I think that he's tired of the disenfranchisement of an entire people because of the color of their skin. I think that people learn that I am smart, that that you don't need to do business with me because I'm Black. You need to do business with me because I am the best.
Yeah, that's right.
And there is no better option than me. And
them cupcakes fire.
I'm rated as one of the best cupcakes in the country and the world.
Yeah,
As you should.
And the best in Tennessee. And people still don't know the cupcake collection. And it's like, what rock have you been living under? And then people want to share that, and people who know that it's good because it's good want to give that to other people or want to keep it because it's a treasure and you don't want everybody to find out your secret, right? But I think people found out that there was a level of excellence, and I'm going to come to every battle with that. But we were having this conversation this week amongst our team that we heard one of your friends say. He said, you know, you want a victory, but you don't want a battle.
Mike Todd.
And that if you want to win something, then there's gotta be a fight. And I think that's just what we're dealing with. And I think at the end of the day, when my children go out or when my team goes out, they're a reflection of me. And I ask them, what is your job? No matter what their job is to make me look good.
Yes.
Because I'm good and because I'm the best. And I think that people learned that we're good, not because we're Black.
No, that's real. That's so real. Because you are good. I mean, I order cupcakes every Tuesday.
Do you ship?
I ship.
Okay, I just want to know.
I do ship.
Yes,
I
Lord.
ship nationwide.
Okay.
Yes, she do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you for asking.
Yeah, no problem.
I want to get y'all's opinion. What do you think about what happened to our Capitol on January 6th? Why y'all looking at me?
I'm really saddened by the fact that people were climbing on our Capitol building. A police officer was chased. And they were mocking our democracy and sitting in sacred places that we've elected people to be. And I heard people shouting, this is our house. You know, this is all of the people's house. And I just shudder to say, had those people looked like anyone else, that would have been a massacre. You have situations where, you know, I've raised Black boys in America who understand that they have to carry themselves a certain way and just, you know, while being Black. I'm not talking about them, you know, being riotous or doing anything out of the norm, just living while being Black. And could never have done that disrespectful act. And you have so many examples in 2020 of people losing their lives and beyond. People losing their lives. Where are we safe? That was really heartbreaking to me.
I felt sad and frustrated, angry, but to be honest, I already felt all of that. I've been feeling that. I've felt that in so many different situations. I wasn't surprised, so the feeling wasn't an overwhelming feeling of I'm mad at this, because I'm already mad. I've been mad. But it was more like, after this day, nobody can tell me that white privilege doesn't exist. Because you saw what happened in the protests for Black Lives Matter. You've seen police officers pointing rubber bullets at children, police officers punching people, Black Lives Matter protesters. And then these people just walk into the Capitol building. Everybody lost their mind about a target, but they just walked casually into the Capitol building. You can't tell me white privilege doesn't exist. It's almost like the video of the girl, I can't remember what her name is, but she had the dog, and she called the police, or she said, I'm gonna call the police and tell them a Black man is harassing me. It was like, y'all can't tell me you didn't see that. You can't tell me that you're blind, that you don't see this. It's right there in front of you. So after that day, I don't really wanna hear it. You can't tell me that white privilege doesn't exist. And that's kind of how I felt. Like, I was just looking back like, wow. It just validates everything that I already knew. It was just validation. Like, yeah, I knew this. I'm not surprised. It makes me angry, frustrated, but I can't say I'm surprised.
All 2020, you saw so many different events on the news, whether it was Black Lives Matter protests or COVID-19 cases. when me just looking at, the video today and hearing it from my friend yesterday, how not surprised I was, but just me also thinking how injustice our system really is and how unequal we are as beings in the U.S., in the United States of America, and how as Black people, we're supposed to sit and digest that because it has happened and is now in the past and now it's a part of history. And I've looked back on history. I've seen the marches. I've heard the stories. And my grandmother was born in 1947, right after World War II, going into the 60s, and how the marches and the police brutality then, that's even hard to digest. So just to see 60 years later, and I actually went to the march on Washington this past year with Al Sharpton leading it, and it was peaceful. No riots, anything like that. It was just, supporting Black Lives Matter, to going to see, white people doing it to the Capitol, and I was just there. So, like I said, it's something that we as a Black community have to digest and live with.
Yeah.
I bet the police showed up in riot gear when you went to the peaceful protest.
They did.
Just to be blunt,
Okay.
why do they want to be oppressed so bad? Like, oppression, it's not, it's not a trend. Like, it's just like, what are you so upset for? You've had all of these years with things being, an advantage to you, a head start to you. You've, it's just like, what is your problem? Why are you acting a fool? Why?
There are definitely two different realities, and they're just coexisting, and it's sometimes hard for the others to see what's actually going on for our daily lives. And I think liberty and justice for all really does not apply anymore.
Did it ever?
You're right. Did it ever?
I was going to ask, I didn't feel anything, me personally.
Uh-oh.
Zero. No feelings.
No feelings. Wasn't upset.
Wasn't upset.
Wasn't sad.
Wasn't sad.
Wasn't hurt.
We living in this bubble. Like, what are we expecting? Like, let me ask y'all a question, and let me break it down this way.
Break it down.
For the next 10 seconds, everybody that's on this panel, be somewhere else. For the next 10 seconds, just be somewhere else. You can't do it. You're all still sitting here. I mean, I'm still sitting.
I closed my eyes. I was trying to see.
All y'all still sitting right here.
For a minute, it's in my head.
Now, you said in your head, that means that either you went back somewhere in time, memory, or you placed yourself somewhere you've never been, imagination.
Yeah.
All we have is memory and imagination, either the past or something in the future. You can only be here now. Here's the problem. Racism is not an individual. Racism is systematic, or we call it systematic. It's a system, right?
Yeah.
And the system oppresses people. We call it racism because the system decides to oppress a specific race. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
So when we talk about racism, we're talking about a system that's oppressing people. Now, really the issue we have is classism, not racism.
Uh-oh.
The real issue is classism. What is classism? Economics. How do I know it? You just mentioned the injustice, the justice system, how injustice our justice system is. If you ain't got no money, it's very injustice.
Yeah.
Yep.
If you got some money, you'll find out it seemed to work out regardless of what color your skin is.
Right.
The Bible says this, the love of money is the root to all evil. If we consider racism evil, just trace the money. Guarantee you'll find out that it has to do with money. Slavery was just an economic thing. That's all it was. We took black people, they took black people and put them to work, made them work for cheap labor.
Yep.
Economics.
Economics.
So the best thing that we can do, stop looking at white privilege. It is white privilege. You know what that comes from? That comes from, we talked about memory, that comes from past, right? They don't have a choice. You can't be somewhere else. I can't be nothing but black. I was born into the skin color I'm in. They were born into the skin color they're in. They don't have a choice.
Come on.
Do you understand?
Right.
So by the same token that there is white privilege, they also are stuck with the stigma of what was done by their ancestors to us. They can't escape that either. So let me ask you a question. Your people, before you, enslaved a bunch of people, murdered a bunch of people, raped and killed and completely destroyed and annihilated a race of people. Your people. You got one or two options. You can live in the privilege of the success that you have now, or you can walk around with the weight of what happened to your people. Which one you gonna do?
I'm moving forward, brother.
So when we look at white privilege, don't expect anything different, because if I was white, what am I gonna do? Walk around with a noose around my neck because of what my people did?
Come on, man.
I can't change that. All I can be is who I am now. If you wanna deal with white privilege, here's how you deal with it. Open up your company, deal with generational wealth, figure out how to set yourself up so that the system works for you and not against you. I mean,
And I think we should
that's
just
real
pass
talk.
the offering plate.
Pass off. Again, going back to compulsive impulse or consciousness. It's one of the two. You can't change yesterday. Let me ask y'all a question. Let me ask y'all a question.
That's why he passed away.
No, that's not.
We'll call you Dr.
Let me ask y'all a question. If you can control the next thought that you're gonna think, don't think it. You don't have control. You don't even have control over your thought. So if you don't have control over what you're thinking, how can you control people climbing the Capitol building? Why would you let that frustrate you? You can't even control your own thoughts. You being frustrated or getting mad or getting angry about somebody considering, doing, first off, me personally, I wasn't amazed by it in any capacity because they were allowed to do it.
Yeah.
You can't even go to Nashville courthouse and do it. Try it and see what happens.
Can't do it.
I don't care what color your skin is. Go down there to the Nashville courthouse and try to scale it and see what happens. You're definitely not gonna do it at the White House unless you're allowed to do it. If you're allowed to do it, there's an agenda. If there's an agenda, then there's a purpose for reaction. We gotta stop being so compulsive and start understanding the game that's being played. Now I know, that
I
ain't...
think that sounds like woke.
Come on here. Woke and lit
At the same time.
at the same time.
Let's stay there. Do we as a black community truly desire success, or do we want to look like success?
Look like success.
Oh, shoot.
You gotta learn this the hard way. Me being, someone young of age and didn't have much growing up, I found myself, when I did get money, to spend it to actually look like money. Wanted to look good, feel good, and I guess feel successful.
Why?
Monetary things. You didn't have it before. You just see it on, TV. You just think that, this looks nice. I think I would look nice wearing this. Why not buy it if I have the money to do so? But then realizing how unimportant monetary things really were and how unimportant they are. And as a community, you see it all over the media. Like, everybody wants to buy the Louis Vuitton or, the purses, the bags, the shoes, the dresses, when all of that doesn't matter, you can only wear one fit once. It just sits in the closet, collects dust. You don't even go that many places. So,
Especially in a pandemic.
And me just being a personal trainer, I wear jogging pants and the hoodie all the time. So it's just like, when you think about success, why do you have to wear it when you look at a lot of white people? They're not trying to go get the most expensive pair of shoes just to go to a meeting. It's something that we spend too much time on.
I think a lot of people want to look like money They want to look like, I'm balling. But at the end of the day, it's like you have a Chanel bag, you have a Gucci bag, but what's in it?
Dang.
Some lip gloss?
Air.
Air. like, what's in it? And going back to the question you asked, when I think about a lot of, especially the younger generation, on Instagram and all of these things, when people get money, the first thing they do is, I'm gonna buy a Lambo. I'm gonna buy a Mercedes. But is it paid for? Is it cash? You got all of these people buying cars for their girlfriends or for their boyfriends or whatever. Like, if my man want to buy me a car, please let it be in my name and please let it be paid off. Don't give me another bill.
Finance.
Don't give me another bill.
No, that's right.
What you better say?
I think we want both. I
agree with that.
I go to HBCU and I see black people hustling every day, all the time. Somebody came and knocked on my door and I answered like, hello? I didn't know who this person was, but he was like, hey, I have a YouTube channel. Like, went door to door passing out flyers about his YouTube channel. And I see black people hustling all the time. I do also think we like to look like success, which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing. Now, I do think it's a problem to your point where, you got this nice car, but you get hit with a medical bill and you can't pay for it. But you driving this nice car though, but you can't pay your medical bill. But I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to look nice. I like shoes, I like clothes, I like to look nice. I like to spend money on clothes, but I'm only gonna spend it if I have it.
All right, so let me ask this question. Let's go deeper. Black person has $1,000 in their bank account. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about our community, okay? If I give you $1,000 cash, if I put the average person in the African-American community, $1,000 cash, they have to pay their light bill or go to the one and only Beyonce concert that costs $800. What do you think the average person is gonna do?
It depends on the person. I think
but
too
it's the
much.
average.
I think you're putting it in a category now. I think you're putting black people in categories.
Yeah, that's what I say. I feel like
average.
The average person.
I said the average person.
The average person may not like Beyonce, though. It's just all about your preference and your taste. And just going back to your previous question, I think out of everybody, black people deserve nice things. Like, we have worked for 400 years, so if we want to splurge a little bit and have comfort and have nice things, especially, I'm very big on this for black women. Black women deserve luxury. Not to be broke, but don't make us struggle so much to have what other people can have readily available.
But it's luxurious to me to lay my head down and know that nobody's gonna take the one pillow I have.
Right.
That's luxurious to me.
That's very important, but it
doesn't matter
too.
that. That's the point. And that's what I was looking for the words to say. Do I want to look like I'm rich? Like, what does that mean? So for me, I'm in a predicament. I don't want to be looking like I'm out here being successful. So I looked at myself in the mirror and said, self, do you like what you see? It doesn't matter what other people think or about what you have, and all this kind of stuff. Like you said, my mother likes to say, a woman of your caliber should be A, B, C, right? Because I agree, there's a level of luxury that I should have, but I paid my dues to get that.
Right.
And I'm still paying my dues because I want to level up. So I looked at myself and I said, self, what are you doing? I sold my house. Because I want to be wealthy.
I like that.
And what wealth looks like to me and being rich looks like to me doesn't look like what it looks like to you, because Bill Gates is rich. He's wealthy. And last time I checked, he doesn't look like it. He could buy a town or a city. And so I made a decision to do what nobody else wasn't willing to do. I was willing to live like no one else so that later I can live like no one else. And I am 46 years old, and I sold my house, and I gained I think a 300% increase on the value in the 2 years that I've been living there. And I downsized from a 3,000 square feet to a studio apartment. Because I'm not playing. I'm not playing about the legacy that I'm leaving. And when I come in and I'm dripping,
Okay, Mom.
like, it's gonna be not because you think
Right.
that I have it.
You have it.
I really am gonna have it, and it's not gonna matter about what anybody thinks about it. And when I decide, if I should decide to don a Louis Vuitton, it's gonna have more on the inside of it than I paid to obtain it.
Absolutely.
I think about priorities.
Both are important too.
I think about priorities as a Black individual. Like, what's important to you? Like, do you want to just go out when you get $500? Oh, let's say a stimulus check or unemployment checks. How many of those checks people were getting in 2020? I didn't get any, right? But imagine, let's say you're middle class, you're a Black middle class individual. You're in your 20s and you don't have any kids. You probably stay in an apartment with other people and you get $800. Bills are paid, but now you just got $800 sitting. So you have to decide what you want to spend your $800 on, or if you want to save it, or if you want to invest it, or put it towards something that you've been working on, like a business or something. Like, it's really about your priorities. I myself, as soon as I get some extra cash, I'm trying to invest it now, or I'm trying to put it towards my business, or I'm trying to, set it aside for the future because you may need it. It's something called, like, when something happens, do you have any money to fall back on? It's called an emergency fund, right? What are your other checking accounts looking like? What's your savings looking like?
Some people don't even have a bank account. They got cash out.
Yeah.
I think
Cash
I think we're too quick to judge Black people sometimes, though.
Thank you.
Because
Thank you.
on one hand, I don't think that we need to keep comparing ourselves to white people. So you say, oh, well, what do white people do when they get money? You don't see them dressing like this. I don't care what white people do. Mikkel's gonna do what Mikkel's gonna do, and I think that you can't just say, oh, this person's dressed nice. They got some Jordans on. That they drive this whatever car. Their priorities must be in clothes.
Yeah.
I mean, when I get some money, I put a lot of money in my business, and I got a good amount of money, and most of it went into my business, but the rest of that money, I went to a store and I bought some nice clothes.
Yeah.
And if somebody looks at me and goes, oh, well, she's dressed nice, she must not, whatever, like, she doesn't have a car, but she's dressed nice.
I'm gonna tell you what I did today. I actually went to H&M. It was a 70% off sale. I went and bought some clothes today, and I haven't done it in a long time because I actually had the chance to do so. But imagine, working for yourself, not getting any paychecks, no unemployment, and you grinding, trying to feed yourself, pay your bills, and it's just a blessing to have something like extra on the side. So, I'm not looking at what nobody else doing. Yeah. That was just an example that I threw out there. But honestly, I don't care how anyone else lives their life, but I'm always big on paying it forward. It's like I always tell my friends, like, bro, you making this money, you doing real well. Are you saving? I ask my friends that. We talk about this stuff all the time. It's about who wants to listen.
Yeah.
You could, like I said, you could tell anybody anything, but it's about what they're going to take from it. And some will, some won't. I know what I'm doing, though. I know I'm leaving something for my generation. I'm going to have a business for them to have within the family, and it's not going to be taken from us. So
I've been trying to chime in for a moment to say that in an effort to answer the question literally in the context of the question, because it's easy to personalize it. It's easy to talk about personal experience, but from a community standpoint, as a culture, I think we do. And the reason we do is because we equate success with material things. Because we did not have. And in order for you to have, you would have had to have become successful in order to have. So as a culture, I think whenever you see somebody doing those things and they feel they have to do those things, it's because they are appealing to our culture, our community. Take church for an example. Most of your big churches that have white pastors, you don't know the pastor name, but you know the church name.
True.
Most of your big black churches, you don't know the name of the church, but you know the pastor.
Yeah, that's true.
Why? Because we gravitate to success of the individual in our community.
Mm-hmm.
It's just good to see us doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
You understand? So when you are wearing stuff to show your success, then it creates this, man, they're doing well, or man, I wish I could. Now the flip side of that is we do it when we're struggling. We portray an image when we really don't have it.
Yeah.
And that's where the fault comes in at.
We need a balance.
There has to be a balance. And when you look at white culture, they don't have to do that to appeal to their people. Do you understand? They don't have to.
Yeah.
They don't have to wear it a certain thing or dress a certain way in order for them to. In our culture, people won't even do business with you. You have a voice based on what they appear as success. If you don't have a voice, if you don't have somewhat of an appearance of success, you don't even have a voice in our community. They'll give you a platform, an ear, and the whole 9 yards if you look like you're successful. They don't even know what's in your bank account. You be struggling. But because you look successful, oh, well, he got something to say. That's a flaw. But at the same time, you got to understand it comes because in order for us to have ever had, that means something of success has taken place, and we gravitated towards that.
And how do we get to a point where it's not an either or? I think that's also unfair too. It's like the questions are always so extreme. Like if you get $1,000, what are you going to do with this? That like, I think it's a little bit much, and then we like drag people, if you will, for wanting to have nice things or do nice things. Like I know I come from a position of privilege, so that's not lost on me, obviously. But, like how do we get to a position where people are actually successful and it's okay for them to splurge on themselves or spoil others or, make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do, stay within your budget, tithe, make sure you're donating and, investing in education. But then, on top of that, like enjoy some of the success that you had along the way.
Right.
I think my question, let's go deeper with that question in. Last month, Bloomberg came out with a study that said that throughout the year of 2020, during the pandemic, Caucasian wealth went up. Black wealth went down. For me, I'm asking, why? Why?
Where's our money going?
That's what I'm saying. Where is it going? How is it that our investments went down, but theirs went up? And we can't say that all white people had jobs. A lot of them lost jobs too. So I guess for me, what I'm asking is, what are we doing in the Black community to where we're always, I'm not even saying that we need to be on the same level, need to be equal, because we can't be equal. It's 13.4% of us in America. So we can't have 100%. But what are we doing with the 13.4% of the income that we do have? How's it that LaDonna and her family are financially well, but then this family over here is not financially well? But when you look at them, they drive a Mercedes.
Yeah.
The number one consumer of a Mercedes-Benz
It's us, yeah.
us. The number one consumer of a Gucci and a Louis Vuitton, us. And they don't even advertise to us.
So you just gave the answer and the solution in what you just said. We're the largest consumer, right?
That's it right there.
I gotta ask this question. Hold on, wait.
Okay.
Why is it that in the Black community, we are always the number one consumer, but we're not the number one creators?
So you just said it, and that's where I was going with it. I was going with the fact that there's consumers and creators. For so long, we assume success based on consumption. What we drive, what we wear, consumption. Those are all consumer-driven things. Where genuine success lies is being the creator.
Yeah.
And we haven't been taught how to be creators of things. We just only been taught how to be consumers.
I think you're wrong.
I think investment too.
Of course.
We need to invest
And
in ourselves.
education,
And when I
of course,
say invest in ourselves, I mean our community. I know a lot of again, speaking from my generation, I've seen a lot, especially going to HBCU. My friends, in our scholars group chat, one of my friends hit up the group chat and was like, do any of you guys know any Black-owned planner companies? And somebody, quick, fast, and hurry, found a list of Black-owned planner companies. My dad the other day sent me, because I skateboard, sent me first Black woman owned skateboard company. And I've seen that recently, my generation, as well as myself, I make it a conscious effort. If I need something, let me find a Black-owned company to support. And a lot of my friends do the same thing. And so I think because we are the number one consumers, what happens if we take all that money that we are buying other things from white people and we start buying it from Black people instead?
I mean, you said it. The question has been asked, I feel like, twice already. Realistically, are we trying to prove ourselves to white people? And then, the answer is yes. According to me, what you just said, we're the number one consumer. So it's just we want to put on, this appearance.
I think we do that to our own community, really not to white people.
Yeah.
We're the only community that's driven by the flashy lights and the da-da-da. And so we put on for our own. We're not putting on for other cultures. I think we're putting on for our own. Hip-hop, you can go across the board, and we do this. We do these things because we want to show our people we made it, or we want to show our people we're successful, not necessarily another culture or another community.
But who said, Gucci and Mercedes is it? Or, this means success, or this is where, when I make it big, I'm gonna go to Lorraine Schwartz.
Well, that's because, and if you don't mind, we're gonna get real, it's gonna get heated up here for a moment, but that's because marketing, these companies that are ran by white people understand that we are the largest consumer, so they market their products to our people, and we go out and buy them to try to please and impress our own people.
But he just said that they don't.
They don't what?
He said they don't advertise to us.
Oh, yes, they do.
Yeah.
How?
It's all over the top.
No, I'm saying, when have you seen them in a African-American
When have
outlet?
You seen Gucci and Essence?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
They're involved.
No. You're saying build that business in the Black community. That's totally different than marketing.
Right. No.
Product placement, in videos,
it's
sports
everywhere.
channels, things like that,
They're constantly marketing to our culture.
And on top of
no
that,
question.
Okay. we spend the most, but we also set the climate on what's cool in America. So you market to Black people think it's cool, everybody else thinks it's cool.
Yeah, we just don't get credit for it. We should be the creators of luxury. How many Black-owned luxury brands are there? And how do you define luxury? That's relative too. So I think absolutely we need to focus on being creators and also being intentional about supporting, whether it's on the different directory list or whatnot. But yeah, I think we've got the resources. We definitely have the vision. We have the taste.
We have the creativity.
A successful Black man is not going to dress like Bill Gates because nobody would want to look like that. Just keeping it real, we really more lit. Like she said, our taste is different, and our going back to African culture, we're more colorful, we're a little bit more loud, we're more ornate, and that's fine. Just make sure you're doing it within your budget.
So last year, Gucci Man, cheesy. Gucci bragged that he had on what?
$10,000 coat,
$10,000
whatever.
coat,
Yeah.
all this money on. Now, they didn't give him that. He paid for that. He bought it and also did the advertising. So it wasn't them marketing. It was us buying and showing off.
No. In order for him to even go buy, it had to have been marketed, right? And of course his name, so on and so forth. Right, for him to even want it, it was marketed, right? So it's kind of, you can't take that isolated situation and say, okay, well, because he wore it, they didn't market it to him. He had already been wearing Gucci stuff, so it's already been marketed. But now think about how many people, look at the responses in the comments, how many people say, oh, man, he got on $10,000, and now how many people want to go and buy the same, right? Yeah. And so, it's just, it's like there's so much of a waking up that we have to do, man, as a people. It's a systemic situation that never stops. And we keep fueling it. If we're the largest consumer, shouldn't we also have the best stuff? More stuff? Shouldn't we own more stuff?
But if we're also the largest consumer, then we have to be the largest supporters of our own stuff.
I don't
and it
disagree.
is only Black people that will say to me, that's why I don't shop at Black businesses.
Oh, they say that?
Do that.
You won't find a white person saying,
Nope.
this is why I don't shop in white businesses. You won't see a Hispanic person saying, this is why I don't shop at Hispanic places. You don't see an Asian person saying, this is why I don't shop at Asian places. You won't see it red or yellow.
That's right.
Purple or gold. You're only gonna see it in my community.
I don't
So
see
when you
that.
get mad at me,
It's the reality.
because I didn't do something the way that you would have liked it done or you didn't understand, you're gonna come and tell me about how I should run my business when you've never run one or don't understand what happened to cause the situation.
So not only that, here's the other dilemma we have. Because we're talking about our community. This is real dialogue. We don't want to face the truth, but here's another dilemma we have. We had two sisters in my community build the first ever Black-owned supermarket, literally supermarket. I'm talking about everything you can find in your brand name supermarket was in these sisters' supermarket. Man, they was robbed so many times. Not when white people robbing them. They had to shut the whole thing down.
Wow.
So even when we try to do better in our own community, it's our own people, and we can do this whole economic disparity and the reason why, so much crime is in our community. The problem is we don't value our own, and we've not been taught value. So when you have one issue of being the largest consumer and not supporting Black business, then you have the other issue of not sustaining, not just from a support standpoint, but from a community standpoint. When it was this looting and all this, guess where it was happening at? Not in Gucci. It was happening at the corner store that's been in the neighborhood. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Forever.
But
Now
I
they
don't
gotta
think it's
close
fair
their
to
doors.
generalize.
We got two
I don't think it's fair to
We
generalize,
can't
though.
do personalize.
No,
He's
I'm
asking
not
a community- a
personalizing. I'm just saying
community-driven
I don't
question.
think it's general because there's one thing I realized going to HBCU is there are so many different Black people. And though our university may not be racially diverse, it's diverse because there's so many different types of Black people. So yeah, you have people that are taking advantage, but that's not what I see. I see a lot more hope for us, and I see a lot more.
I'm not speaking.
I see a lot of people that are supporting Black businesses, and this is me personalizing, but I'll drive 45 minutes to go to Roots before I go to Kim's Hair Plus 15 minutes away.
We need more of you.
But I see a lot of me.
You see a lot of you. Good.
What I love
go back to
you
those
so much.
percentages.
I have
Those
listened
percentages.
to you for this whole time that we've been, and I am more in love with you every time you open up your mouth. But you have to understand that she is a different generation from the one before me. My generation is the first generation of African Americans who have full access to opportunity. I can do things that my parents couldn't do.
That's right.
When I opened up the cupcake collection, I had to keep it a secret
Wow.
from my parents.
Wow.
Because you don't do that. My level of privilege was you go to college, you climb the corporate ladder. I mean, I have parents that went from, my mother was the secretary at the company where she worked, went there without a college degree, and when she retired with an executive offer on the table. Secretary to executive. You climb the corporate ladder. You don't go play business. Because people, that's not sure. And then you have my children who are the first generation of African American people as a collective with access to wealth transference as a collective. So for the first time, you have people who are going to receive property and businesses as a collective. And and that's where you would reside. And so therefore you see things differently because things have been passed on to you and you've seen privilege and you've seen opportunity. You see things from a lens that the people before you will never be able to see so clear. But guess what's gonna happen with my grandchildren when they come behind you? They're gonna be the first generation of African American children, people as a collective with privilege. And they will be able to do things that is gonna blow your mind and things that you won't understand and things you won't be able to relate to, which I think is is what's happening here. I love your perspective. I love the perspective that you bring. I love your perspective. I love your perspective. I think it's been just like you said. It's about access to what we came from. And I think that the difference is that what's on your shirt. Your shirt says Harriet and Rosa, Shirley, Angela, and Tamika.
That's right.
What are you going to do with that which has been placed on the inside of you? Because at the end of the day, you said it very well. Just like you want a return on your investment and you're trying to teach us how to invest well so that we can have a return on our money, God is looking for a return on his investment in us.
Absolutely.
What did you do with your peace that he gave you to make sure that you left the world as a better place? I love saying it like this. Sometimes we feel like we're buried in our own situation, and in fact, we don't realize that we're planted.
Just one more piece to the big puzzle.
We're just planted.
Fall season.
And eventually we're gonna grow into some amazing oak tree that provides shade.
So I want to ask a question. I want to go deeper here. Do you believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is moving the Black community forward? And I want to start with you.
I want to bring it back to what you said. You said Black Lives Matter has been here all along, and it just hasn't been called that. I think it's the same thing. It's a new wave of revolution. It's our new cry. It's the same song we've been singing. It's just there's a new title. There's a new cry. It's a new thing we're saying, but it's the same song we've been singing. And actually, to talk about two things that you guys said is things are getting better. Every generation is a new perspective. Things are getting better. And that's why when I said it's not okay for me, I can't be okay with the things going on because things are getting better. And I see, I can be optimistic that if we keep fighting, things will get better, because they are. Things do get better. But at the same time, how are we still struggling with the same problems of police brutality, mass incarceration, or mass incarceration, excuse me. And yeah, it's we're just continuing to fight, and we have to keep fighting, because then there won't be your grandchildren, my children, they won't have a new perspective if we don't to your shirt. If Rosa Parks said, "Oh, this is what it is. I'm gonna go to the back of the bus," where would we be? And for so many other things, where would we be? So we're just continuing to fight, and it's a new title, but same fight, and things are getting better slowly, and not in every way. Things are getting better, but things are getting better.
Millennials, Black Lives Matter.
I'll jump in and say I certainly appreciate what you're saying, and I love your intentionality about support and being vocal about your views. And it's wild to think, like, I'm twice your age. And I love to see, at such a young age that you've developed this voice that it takes people much longer oftentimes to develop. But I would say for Black Lives Matter, like you said, it's the same fight, it's the same narrative. It's not the same agenda, because we are making some progress. But I support what's being done collectively and just moving the agenda forward so that, my kids, my grandkids, my great-grandkids won't have the same battles that we're dealing with today. They will have struggles of some sort, because that's just human nature in every society, every generation, every culture has that. So I don't know what their problems will be, but I'm very happy that their problems won't be the same thing my grandparents went through, or my great-great-grandparents, or what I've even had to deal with. So I certainly do respect the movement, respect what they're doing, and just keep the narrative going.
Black Lives Matter, I feel like people have turned it into a marketing scheme or turned it into a bad word. Like Black Lives Matter is that within itself. Like Black lives really do matter, and it's not an attack against anybody else, or it's not taking away from anybody else.
Say that again.
But at the end of the day, somebody broke it down as an example. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. They're not saying that all other cancers aren't, as serious or aren't as deadly, but we just want to raise awareness for this cause right now. These are the things that are happening to us. These are the things that we deal with every day, and we wanted to bring it to your attention. But as I mentioned, it kind of turned into a marketing scheme. To me, it's just so interesting to see the NFL with end racism at the end, in the end zone or whatever, where they make the touchdowns. And it's just like, y'all had the opportunity to speak up before. You had the opportunity, to be on the forefront of progressing and making change. And now all of a sudden it's, well, we saw the NBA do it and they didn't lose money and nothing happened to them, over the summer. So we're just gonna follow suit and put it on the back of our helmets. Like, it's not a trend. Our lives and our livelihood, it's not, something that's in this season. Like, we're Black all of the time, and it matters all of the time, not some of the time.
When I think of Black Lives Matter, not only do I think about the organization and the movement, but I think about it as Black people, as a community and a unit. I think about it being a stand, an agreement of freedom and equality to continue to make change even when it feels like we're not, but we have. Times are definitely different in so many ways, but like Weston was saying, it was completely different from what our ancestors had to experience, literally being in the field, to now, us standing together, marching for our rights as citizens in America, but as Black people, for a system that wasn't even designed for us to make it, but we still are. Not everyone is on the same page, but we're trying, and a lot of us are really trying to make it, and not just trying, but actually are, and we're still trying to pull those who are not. And Black Lives Matter, stand for integrity, for our skin. I'm biracial. Both of my parents were mixed, but my grandfather was Black and he was in the military, and I don't see myself any different than Black. I stood so strong on it in college, I actually got this tattoo that I don't regret, and it's on my arm, and it says Forever Black Royalty, and it was a friend that I met in college, and it was something that, he stood strong on and valid on, and this was something that he was, all for. It was his business, and that was the extent of me supporting my brother and his, not just movement, but something that he believed very strongly about, and I felt the same way. So Black Lives Matter to me means my life. This is my existence, because the only life that I get the chance to live is Black. And being able to, like I said earlier, just digest history, the now, and not being able to see the present, but only have a prediction of what it may come to.
Weston, y'all in the older generation,
I ain't old.
but you're in the older one. Mother, when y'all hear it, what y'all hear? What y'all see?
You don't want me to say nothing.
I do. Because I'm interested. I bet you we have a similar thought. And I bet you it's different from what they've said.
So there's two sides to, when I hear Black Lives Matter, there's two sides to that. One side is to white America, and it speaks to white America. And that voice says, you know, there were laws on the books, literally laws on the books that said we were less than human in this country that we live in. And that same country, we're still saying, hey, just treat us like we're like any other human being, regardless of the skin color. That's that side. That's the voice of Black Lives Matter. If you want to put 2 on it, okay, 2, whatever. But then there's our side of it. And I think whenever we talk about our side of it, we quickly dismiss our responsibility for Black life. And we quickly talk about their culture, their community, white people. Black lives matter to who is my question. Who does Black lives matter to? Should they only matter to white people? Black Lives Matter has to matter to us first. I never forget this, when the Black Lives Matter train come rolling through our community, proverbial, that's not a real train, by the way. I saw dope boys protesting Black Lives Matter. But you sell dope to the same Black community that you live in. Don't tell me Black Lives Matter. They don't matter to you. See, we don't want to take ownership of our responsibility. When I go out and have 7 baby mamas, get them all pregnant and don't take none of them, take care of none of them, don't tell me Black Lives Matter to you. You created a Black life and you don't even take care of it. So surely Black lives don't matter to you. You ain't even supporting your own life that you created. When you won't go down and spend any time at the school board meeting, you won't take your lazy behind down to the voting poll and vote. Don't tell me Black lives matter to you. When you leave your neighborhood store and go spend money in another community but won't drop a dime in your own, don't tell me Black. See, we jump on the bandwagon because it sounds good. And it's easy to point the finger. This is what I was saying earlier. Until we take ownership, it's easy to find every excuse as to why. When are we going to take care of our own community, starting with our own home, starting with our own responsibilities? Then we can see, maybe we don't have to be equal. Maybe we can do our own. But we won't do that as long as Black Lives Matter is an excuse. So my question is, Black Lives Matter to who? That's the tough conversation. We don't want to have that in our community. Whenever you do that, then it's, oh, he a coon, no, he with white people. No. We just need to talk about what we need to do in our own community. We need to address some real issues within our own community as well. I'm not saying that white cops killing Black boys I'm talking about, okay, that's one piece. When the boy's shooting up the neighborhood and you know who doing the killing, and that police come knock on your door and fear for your own life, you don't say nothing, but yet people steady dying in the community. Black life don't matter. The only life that matter is yours. See, we got to get out of that, man. We got to start dealing with real issues in our community. And when we do, then we'll make the world pay attention. Till that time, who does Black Lives Matter to?
Were you going down the same path?
So from your standpoint, I'm in total agreement. I think there's that other level of, still needing to be inclusive. Still having that level of what LaDonna's great-grandparents had, an understanding of needing allies to walk along with you. I'm grateful for the Dave Ramseys who are willing to say, this is my experience, let me give it to you so that you can also have your own piece of what I got. I'm grateful for people like my friend Sherry Deutschman, who operates something called the Brain Trust, where she saw Black Lives Matter and said, it's not gonna happen on my watch. And created, she's one of Nashville's celebrated female millionaires, and said, I'm going to create a brain trust for other women to be able to level up their businesses. So if you're making this amount of money, I will come and mentor with you, provided that you, in each one of your little cohorts, you at least have 70% of those members be other Black women or women of color so that they too can get this knowledge. And for people like my friend Donald Miller, who said, I didn't want to just donate to some Black Lives Matter to say, I did my part, because I see that my business is an all-white, all-male business. I want to do something different. I want to change the conversation. Let me go find some other Black owners that are doing something great and let me pour into them. Because what are we all trying to do anyway? We just trying to live.
That's America, though, believe it or not. America's not what we see on TV. That's a narrative. There's more. Your great-grandfather, what year was that?
Great-great-grandfather, 1896.
1896, there were people like that. Hundreds of years ago. That still exists today. Racism is not an individual. Racism is a system. So if you get caught up on skin color, shame on you. Shame on you. Because I've had people who are not my skin color come to my aid, and I've had my own skin color not. I'm not knocking down my race, because I've also had my own skin color come to my aid, and I've had people who are not my skin color not. We're talking the difference between good and evil. That ain't got nothing to do with no skin color. So racism is a system, which means until you understand what you're fighting against, you're gonna be fighting it forever trying to fight people. You'll be fighting forever trying to fight people. People will do you good today, and the same person will stab you in the back tomorrow. That's good and evil. That has nothing to do with race. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
And so what we have to do as a collective, as a community, is do our part. God will send whatever allies, learn to love everybody. I don't have a problem with racist people. You know why I don't? Because I know who they are. I don't have no problem. If a person tell me they don't like me, I'm happy. You know why? Because I know who you are and I know how to deal with you. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with a person who's racist, but yet they smile in my face and everything good. And I don't know that they're racist. And it takes an act of God to discern that. You understand what I'm saying? I would rather know who you are. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm pro my people. You pro your people. The only difference is I can't do nothing to affect your people. So just don't do nothing to affect mine. That's all. And as long as you do that, we're good. But everybody else, man, ain't got time to be worried about no skin color. Who is and who ain't. Y'all listen, you won't stand before God. I'll say it again. You will not stand before God and be able to talk about some particular race that did something to you. You won't be able to.
I stand with you.
No, man. No. Some of the biggest blessings in my life came from white people. That's God using a white person the same way he uses a black one. Some of my biggest burdens have come from black people. But I'm love my people just the same. That's individuals. That's good and evil. That's not race.
Would you say the Black community is thirsty for acceptance and inclusion from the white community?
Depends on your circumstances.
Okay.
I don't care, honestly. Like, I'm not seeking acceptance because my reality is very different. And like my business, we work with Black people.
Right.
So, I don't care about white opinion. It's good to have a positive relationship, if you will, but I've just never had to operate in that. I've never worked for a white person. I've never had that submission, if you will, instilled in me. But again, going back to what you said previously, it's economic empowerment, it's education. My family's been highly educated and influential, and we take pride in being able to provide employment for others, and we have a large scholarship program that we have as well. So we're able to give back what we have been blessed with, and that's what's most important to me. And I want to be able to, make sure my kids never have to care about what others think of them, who's in charge of them, who's ruling their life. Like, it doesn't matter. Create your own narrative, and so that 5 or 10 or 15 generations down the line, we've created our own reality.
So I didn't say LaDonna.
I thought we was gonna argue, but I guess not. We on the same shit.
No,
all I know is LaDonna.
But that's what I'm saying, though. I'm not saying does LaDonna want to be accepted. I'm saying
community.
us as a
The community
and as a culture, do we want to be accepted?
I still
and
say
included?
say no to that, because I think we have our own culture, and I think we're not fighting for acceptance from them. We're fighting for them to leave us alone.
Oh.
We're fighting for them to to stop killing us. We're fighting for equality. Leave us alone.
I see that differently.
Uh-oh.
I see that same thing. I see us saying, now, if one of us would have did it, who cares? I'm not saying that we should settle for whatever handouts we're given. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is the fight has been such a long fight because one day we hope to be equal.
But shouldn't we all be equal, though?
We should be.
Absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this. Is your Bible made of equal people? I'll give you time.
No.
I'll give all y'all time.
For sure.
No.
Let's do it with God. Let's go with God's eyes.
But man has created these systems of inequality.
Hold on. Let's go with God's eyes. In your Bible, from the beginning of time, did God see everybody the same?
No.
Never have.
He created Adam.
He had his people, and he wanted his people to not be like them. He had not talking about who's better and who's worse. I'm not talking about that, because then we got to get into good and evil. The battle is about good and evil. But when we're talking about people, you're not going to have equality in the sense of what we have been as a race fighting for. We're not. Until he comes back. We're not. So why are we still the same people, sis, that cried unto God and he heard their cry, sending a deliverer by the name of Moses and brought them out of bondage? Those same people, not even 2 weeks later, and I'm clowning, start saying we had it better when we was in Egypt. At least we had some fish.
Exactly.
Now, read your Bible. Did they let them go back into slavery? Yes. Multiple times, over and over again. So either we serve a God who understands that we are not going to always be. How about equal means serving him, and anybody who serves him, we should be compatible and equal. Outside of that is good and evil, because man's evil issue, he's always wanted to be God, which means he wants to rule man. That will never happen. Equality will never happen outside of him. And so as a race of people who come from God, why are we looking for an evil world to be equal with it? Why are we trying to make sense of evil? It'll never happen. So when I walk out the door and I go and stand in line, I'm expecting for somebody to treat this white lady or this white man different. That's where I live. And guess what? It's okay. You know why it's okay? It has no bearing on my reality, has no bearing on my success, none of it. You asked me this, I had this conversation with you in a mentoring situation.
What question was it?
I ain't gonna put you on the spot. In a mentoring situation, I told you this. I said, I don't waste my time teaching my son how to act around police.
I remember that. Yep. Yep.
I don't teach my son how to act around white people. Because then I'm teaching him to do the same issue that we have now. See, if I do all of this teaching him about how to respond and react around white people and police, it'd be a black friend of his that takes his life.
Wow.
It'd be his homeboy, somebody he close to, that look just like him, that'll put him in the grave one day. So what I do is I teach him how to be respectful to people.
Yes.
How to carry himself around people, how to handle conflict resolution with people. Because it ain't based on skin.
That's good.
Now we're talking good and evil. Does that make sense, y'all?
Yeah.
So equality, we can't, don't, why would you frustrate? We live frustrated lives trying to control stuff we have no control over. We live frustrated. Our lives are so frustrated and upset and sad and depressed and the world coming to an end, all because we're trying to control stuff we have no control over. When you learn these 2 words that I have, that's my mantra for 2021, it's okay.
It's okay.
I know that's 3, but technically I'm saying 2 words. It's okay.
It's not for me, though.
No, that's fine. And that's okay. That's
Go
okay.
ahead, finish. What you gonna say?
That's not okay for me to go somewhere and some white woman be treated better than me because I'm black. I'm gonna continue to fight for it. And if that's what you believe that it's just gonna be what it's gonna be, that's cool for you, but I don't agree with that at all. I'm gonna fight. And as far as your question about us trying to live in a society where we're accepted by white people, I can speak for my generation. We don't care. We don't care. We just wanna know that if I get stopped by the cops, first of all, I'm being stopped for something actually illegal. And second of all, I'm gonna make it home alive. That's what we care about. But being accepted, we don't care. We're gonna do our own thing. And we're gonna live our life in our blackness. Like you said, creativity. We have our creativity. We have our things. I don't care. I have my own business. I'm running my own business.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna put whatever I want on my shirt. My shirt is gonna say Black Smile. And if you're a white person and you don't wanna buy it, that's not my problem. I'm not here to be accepted by you, but I will be respected. And I do expect that when I come into contact with you, I'm gonna be respected, like you said, for who I am, because I'm good, period. And it's not okay for me to just go somewhere and somebody treat me different.
That's okay, I'm saying. I'm saying don't be frustrated. In other words, don't live in a bubble. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not telling you what to think or how to feel. That's okay. It's okay for you to have your own. But when it frustrates you and upsets you, and here's what I'm trying to give you. The reality of it is, it shouldn't. And let me tell you why. Because you don't need it anyway. You don't have to, they have no control over, name the worst day you ever had in life. Can you remember that? Whatever day that is. Just think of it. Just like whatever, not necessarily the day itself, but incidents that have happened that may have made it be the worst day that you've ever had.
When my papa died.
Okay, when your papa died. That's a terrible day, isn't it? So, did the sun rise that day? It did. Did the water in your house work that day? We have the tendency to make our reality the reality. We have the tendency to make our circumstance life.
Yep.
And the reality is, it's not life. It's your world, and you're the captain of it. So don't allow anything outside you to disturb what's in you, because you're far. Here's what the enemy knows. When things are divided, it loses strength. When you're conflicted even in yourself, there's less strength. You know what made her great-grandfather strong, powerful? Is in spite of all the external, he never lost the internal. And he could fight the conflict internally, right? Or the external conflict internally and face it no matter what. Yeah, I'm sure he had frustration times and days in which we quit as a people so often because of what's going on inside. And never can we affect what's going on outside because we're so conflicted inside.
I wouldn't say that as a people, though. I guess I can speak for myself. Sure. Is that I battle internally with myself on a daily basis, and I'm here right now. Every day I get up, and every day I keep going, and I'm mad. I'm mad. There's a lot to be mad about. I am mad, but my anger is one of the things that fuels me.
See, you're different. That's good then. That's in a conversation. It ain't stopping you.
I have something I want to add.
It stops so many people. You understand?
Go ahead, T.
I think just for us sitting up here, we have a certain level of privilege in, the Black community. Yeah. Like, I mean, I'm a college graduate. You all are, successful in your own right and things of that nature. But sometimes I think about my friends and the people that I grew up with and just looking at how, my life may have been different from theirs. When I first started going to school, I was in pre-K, but I went to a white elementary school. And for me, that was an interesting experience because there, I was just Tanisha. I was smart. I was on, honor roll, made all A's and things of that nature. And then my mom got married when I went to 4th grade, and we moved, and I went to a predominantly Black school. And at that school, we were pizza parties, fundraisers. The Titans would come to our school. We had fall festival, all of these great and amazing things. And then when I got to the other school, the books were tore up. And, the teachers were very different in the tone and the way that they dealt with us. And I was asked the question, why do you talk white? And I was like, talk white? Like, what are you talking about? This is the way I talk. And it was the first time I had experienced, I could guess you say, colorism or whatever the case may be. People were looking at me because I was different or I came from, a different experience from them. Like how you were saying to combat white privilege or racism, you said free enterprise, or did you say start your own business? Or
ownership of self. Like within our own culture and community, what you just said, there's variances, right? We're not all. Sometimes we're raised in a 2-parent household, yet we're Black. Sometimes we're raised by a single mother, yet we're Black. Sometimes we're raised in the project. You can only control and take ownership of the lot you've been given. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? And make the best of whatever you've been given. Whenever we look at the disparities and the inconsistencies and the challenges of this race over that race and this person over that person, it takes the ownership out of it. It becomes excuses, it becomes reasons, it becomes, we do it within our own community. Well, they made it because they had both mom and dad, or they made it because they went to this school or got this education, or they went to college. We have to take ownership as a people, and I think you know where I'm going with that.
But what about, I feel like that's easier said than done. What about the people who've never, really seen ownership? Like for me, for example, my family, I come from a line of women who just, most of them are single mothers. Most of them, have, through my eyes, have settled, and it's gonna take this is what I have enough, to pay my rent. I'm gonna be in this apartment, I'm going to live and work, for this company for the rest of my life. But for me, I don't want those things. They are great and amazing women.
Will you have those things that they have, or would you have better?
No, I would have better, but I'm just saying, what about for the people who can't see past, like you said, free enterprise and ownership? If they don't see that for themselves, how can we,
help them?
Yeah, help them. Or, it's easy for us to sit up here and say, do this and do that, but if they've never seen it done before, or if they don't believe it for themselves, as a people, I feel like a lot of the things we've been saying up here, we've been speaking just for ourselves, or through our situations, or this is what I do with my family.
Y'all don't know my background. I was raised, who I am today is not what I come from. So no, I'm not saying, hey, go start a business. I'm saying a solution as a community, as a not an individual. Now you've brought it down to individuals who have not. I was speaking literally largely as a community. We need to do more of self-investment, ownership, working on self. That goes back to the Black Lives Matter video that I did, right?
Yeah.
Taking ownership. So not everybody's meant to be a business owner. Not everybody's meant to be an entrepreneur.
That's
I'm
true.
not saying that. Whatever lot you've been given, figure out how to make that happen and work within that lot versus using it as a crutch or an excuse as to why you can or cannot. There always comes somebody who says, you know what? I've been given bad lemons all my life, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm not gonna make lemonade and sell it. I'm gonna plant lemon trees and I'm gonna figure out how to make, lemonade for a whole generation of people. Just taking whatever you have and focusing on what God has given you. None of us will stand before God and blame any race. None of us will stand before God and say, but God, they did this. He's gonna wanna know, what did you do with what I gave you? Whatever that was. It doesn't matter if it was 1 pence, 2 pence, 5 pence. It does not matter. He expects increase with what he gave you. And as a community, we spend too much time talking about, well, I don't have, and they have. Do with what you do have and watch God bless it.
But I think it's important to be, go ahead.
You
haven't.
I just had to stand up on that one, boy. God, boy.
I got something.
That man said, what you gonna do?
I need to turn around. Yes, sir.
So,
Go ahead.
Just listening to all y'all talk, and I mean, many of you all, don't know me, and in life, I stand big on a lot of different things. But one thing I really do stand firm on is believing that in life is your choice. As a human being, all you know is coming into the world, coming from your mother's womb. And if you have faith in God, then so be it. I'm one of those individuals who stand firmly on God. I was also someone who lost both of my parents growing up. And also at a high school, that was low academically, one of the worst academic schools in Tennessee, and bounced to multiple different homes growing up. Raised by my grandmother and uncle, and also had 4 and 5 other siblings in the home. So a lot of stuff that I see on the media and Black Lives Matter, not only is that hard to digest, but just my life as a whole now. And I'm just a young man, and at the time when I was 16, losing my mom, still trying to find self. And then losing my dad in college. In the process of finding myself. 3 years later, COVID happens. Black Lives Matter is still hitting hard. And then you got history to sit on top of all of that. And all I knew was to succeed after I lost my mom. It just kind of clicked. I had people along the way who guided me, so I didn't do it alone. But most importantly, I had God, and I continued to pray, and I believed in writing down and manifesting my life. Even when I was in college, I worked multiple different jobs, and I knew the system. I knew what they were doing with working all these different hours at a specific industry, and they taking all this money out your check. You slaving for time. So after working all these different jobs and finishing school, I started my business in my head while I was in college. I knew that I knew I didn't go through all this stuff in life just to experience the pandemic. Life's not over. I decided to start a business that's all about training past adversity. 365 is what we have to do every single day. Not just in a training sense, but mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, socially, as a Black man and woman in the United States of America. So I stand so firmly on just believing in self. Steve Harvey says, I listen to a lot of his motivation. He says, stop worrying about everybody else. Because you can only focus on yourself at the end of the day. If you spend your whole life focusing on what happened in the past, what's happening now, then you will never strive and thrive to the, the being that you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
So that's my viewpoint.
You was about to say something.
I was just gonna say that I agree with your point about you having to take ownership of yourself, and you're the only one who's gonna be able to get you out of your situation. You can't focus on everything that's happening to you. It's more about, well, what are you gonna do? Okay, this is everything that happened to you, but what are you gonna do now? However, I think that sometimes when Black people tell other Black people, well, you got to get yours, and you got to get yours, and you got to focus on you, and this, that, and the other. It's a great thought, and it's true, but we can't forget to remind them that you have to help the rest of us, because to your point, there are people that they don't have. We all have privilege. We all have a certain amount of privilege, and I think you were talking about white privilege, and it's like, okay, well, I was born here and I was set up with this, so I'm gonna roll with it. Like, I'm not gonna be weighed down by what happened in the past, but I think you have to be aware of where you're at, who's ahead of you and who's behind you.
That's true.
And for me, it's like, I'm aware that I was born into a great family. And even if my family was going through struggles, and even when they were struggling, I had no idea, because my parents never let me have any idea. And I went to a good school. It was a majority Black school, but the teachers really cared. They really cared about us, because I had teachers that looked like me. And I've always had my parents who always supported me. So when I wanted to start my business, they were like, cool, seed money, here you go, start your business. I have a friend, one of my best friends, who has the same drive, the same passion, the same talent as me, and has a gazillion ideas just like I do. Like, she'll call me and say, hey, I have this idea to do this. But she wasn't born in the same type of life that I have. She loves my parents because they're so supportive of me. And she doesn't have that. And I'm very aware of that I was given this. And I'm gonna take care of me, and I'm gonna take care of mine. But my end goal is always to give it back to those people that, one, may not know. I mean, your whole point is to teach financial literacy to the Black community. How can you expect us to know if nobody taught us? How can you expect anybody to know something if nobody taught them? So when you say you have to, yes, you have to take care of yours. You can't focus on, what you don't have. You can be aware of it. You can be aware of what you don't have. You can be aware of what you have. But you also have to stress the point of going back and teaching those that don't.
I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
I'm not disagreeing. What I was saying had nothing to do with the community at large. The way you fix the community is you work on self to better. You ever heard somebody say there's no I in team? You ever heard that statement?
Yeah.
There is an I in team. And guess what that is? If I don't do my part, I hurt the whole team.
Yeah.
And so as a community, when we better ourselves, we better our community. Can't fix the boat, the hole in your boat when mine's sinking. If I fix the hole in my boat, then I'm in a better position to then teach you or help you. So no, I agree with you 100%.
And somebody's always watching you too. The things you do does not go unnoticed. And thinking about when we were talking about, our community, we should spend more time paying it forward. I'm somebody that like to learn new stuff every day. And you get let's talk about the system. All the way from pre-K all the way to high school, college, it's systemized education.
It is.
You have all these classes to balance these from middle school all the way up high school, college, and you learn. I think about it as all these like multiple trades at one time. So you learn how to balance. You learn accountability. You have classmates and all that. But what I mean by paying it forward is, well, when you learn something that's a piece of knowledge, share it.
Yeah.
One of my mentors told me that a couple years ago, and she said, always remember to pay it forward. So it's like when I learn something new, you could tell everyone, but only some people will listen.
Yeah.
A lot of Black people are in fear to do something first, and they want to see somebody else do it to see what happens. If you wait and you continue to wait, then you'll never get anywhere. If I waited to start my business and just procrastinated, then I would not have gotten this far. If I waited to leave my job and, decide to pursue, my business full time, then I wouldn't have never gotten this far if I didn't make a decision myself. So if we can pay it forward more in our community, then we'll have more Black people owning, real estate, investing, and just understanding that, okay, you may have a job that you work a 9 to 5. And I was also listening to this on your podcast. You got your job working 9 to 5, then also having something on the side that you're working towards, so that 9 to 5 won't be your entire life. Because, like I said, everything is so accessible now. We have to stop complaining and making excuses about something that has already happened. It's another transition. How are you going to adapt in this transition? Are you going to get swept up under the rug, or are you going to do the sweeping? And I decided to sweep.
Let's stay there, because you said something that Mignon, but I call her Mom, says, and then LaDonna comes from that, what you just said. You said, how do we fight white privilege? How do we fight racism? Is by create something within the Black community that generates wealth. I would love to just stay right there, because y'all know me, I'm the money guy. I do a lot of research. And when it comes to finances and creating generational wealth for the African-American community, I have to be honest and transparent. I get frustrated with us because we go back and we blame the last 400 years.
Yeah.
And we blame white privilege and we blame everyone else rather than just saying, hey, I'm going to take advantage of where I am. I'm going to bust my butt and I'm going to sit here and think about, okay, what is my granddaughter, LaDonna, going to be doing 5 generations from now with this company that creates millions, not for my son, but my son's son, my son's son, and my son's daughter, and my daughter, da-da-da-da. But we complain. It's like, how do we create and get over the past and focus about today and change tomorrow?
That's so good. I'm screaming on the inside right now. Y'all are like making a joke when LaDonna was coming in, that she walks in slow motion.
Yeah, she does.
That's how you're supposed to.
When LaDonna comes in a room, everybody says, who is that? And she comes with a presence.
Yeah.
She has this invisible entourage around her, right?
She does.
And when you said that about she's always been free, she may not, see it that way, but because I truly do believe that entrepreneurship is freedom. It's the only way to ultimately, live free and to not be into debt to other people. But I thought about my grandbabies. That's gonna be Lincoln and Zoe one day. I just saw them. They go walk in slow motion when they come in. Like, you just personified that for me.
You changed the narrative.
Yeah, like that's what I've been working for. And I never knew what that was gonna look like, but I did say I wanted to be great because I wanted for my granddaughters to walk into a room and for them to say, my grandmother was Mignon Francois, and I want that to matter for something. And for her, that matters.
She's walking in it.
She's walking in it.
She's living it.
All she has to do is walk in and say, her last name, and then you start telling her story.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to say anything. And I love that. But the way that we answer the question, my sisters and I laid our grandmother to rest last year. When we left her funeral, we went to Terrio, Louisiana.
Okay.
And that's my maiden name. And so Terrio was one of the largest plantations in Louisiana. And so we asked Siri to take us to Terrio, and it landed us in the middle of an operating sugarcane field. And standing there with my sisters, I was in awe of the landscape, thinking about the past. I thought about the women who walked that ground before me. I sauntered onto this plantation. You better not tell me nothing. about being here. This isn't my land, but it's got my name on it.
Ooh.
And so I'm gonna be here. And if we were off onto these people's property.
Yeah.
And we walked in there with our level of privilege. Yeah. And as we stood there at this 4-way stop sign, it dawned on me that I had to be great. And I had to do my due diligence to make my name great. Because the women who came before me, whose names you will never know, who were excellent in all that they did, they had to be excellent in all that they did. You will never know their name, but you will experience them because you will experience me. And I will be great. And you will say my name. And you will say my name, and it will be attached to good business.
Yeah.
And it will be attached to generational wealth and legacy because I'm gonna make certain that it happens. And so what I've been doing with my business and my time, I took my business back to New Orleans, where I'm from. I had this idea that I wanted to redeem the time that was stolen from them. And so I wanted to plant my business in places where we had been historically enslaved and create enterprise and go back and get the money that they couldn't get. And so we had to go back to New Orleans, where we're from and where the hub of slave trade was. Yeah. And I had to teach it to my sisters. And then they're gonna teach it. And then those children are gonna teach it. And we're grooming the next generation right now. And I just think that that's how you do it. You don't make excuses. You don't say, I think about Barack Obama and how he said he had to do his homework in those kind of wee hours because that's when his mother was available. And I think if we stop making excuses for our children or why we can't do things, we will have a greater generation with a greater opportunity. And I just think the way that you do it is you do it hard. Yeah. If it's hard, you do it hard. Yeah. And I just think that you don't get to complain. Just like you were saying. You don't get to complain.
And no excuses. Yeah, you don't get to complain, no excuses. We got to take ownership. And when you say how do we do it, it doesn't have to be, we got to come together. That's the problem. We're constantly talking, man, we got to come together. We got to come. How about you just do your part? I do my part.
But I can't do my part. I'm Black.
Well, that's the problem right there. You think, in terms of, people think in terms of, Black as a stigmatism. Yeah. And it's not.
They have a 400-year head start. What are you talking about?
I ain't trying to catch up. I'm just trying to do my part. See, we all have a leg to run. We all have a leg to run. It's a relay race.
Right.
Before you, somebody else was before you, your mom and dad. They came along, they're running their race, and they passed the baton to you for you to run yours. She talked about her legacy. They ran their race, and they're passing on. Now she's just running a better leg to prepare for the next, that 5-year-old or whoever, to run the next. We cannot be caught up on what anybody else if we just do our part.
Yeah.
You're changing the legacy of the O'Neill family.
Right.
Am I right?
Right.
By what you did.
Right.
But all you did was your part.
Yeah.
When your leg is done, God's gonna call you home. Ain't no more running to do.
Yeah.
Run to the best of your ability and stop worrying about who else on the track.
Yeah.
Run to the best of your ability.
LaDonna, the baton is in your hand of a multi-million-dollar budget a year company. I want you to talk into that. How do you feel? Because aren't you the first woman in the chair of your family?
Yes.
And young. You're in your young 30s. So let's talk about that. Because I got to ask you this question straight up. Did the white culture, the white man, prevent you and your family from succeeding?
There were some road bumps for sure, certainly. But, it's interesting just to think about what you're saying, passing the baton. And that, when you were saying that, I was thinking it's when your part of the race is done, but it's up to you to leave nuggets of wisdom along the way.
Yeah.
So, there's no way I could be where I am right now without the wisdom of my father and then grandfather. So my great-great-grandfather founded our company in 1896. So 125 years later, we're still in existence. And the sole purpose is because he wanted to provide an opportunity for newly freed Black people to have their voice heard in the context of religion. So, they wanted to get away from the religion of the white man, if you will, and the oppression that comes with that, but still be able to freely express themselves in the context of Christianity. So, in the way that he wanted to do that was in the written word. Obviously, in the 1800s and previously, it was literally illegal for Black people to be literate. So, to go from being born in Mississippi in 1843, being enslaved, and then in 1896, buying a press to literally distribute the written word amongst newly freed Black people is something that is quite impressive. There were threats on his life, and obviously, nobody wanted him to succeed that was on the outside, but he was able to succeed with the support of his peers in the church.
Wow.
So interestingly enough, he couldn't just go somewhere and buy a press. He had to rely on a white counterpart to help that transaction. And he also relied on his wife to provide some resources as well. So she actually sewed into his dream to be able to establish the company.
Now, and I know, Anthony, it's on you, but I just want to say what you just said was so powerful, because while he has this macroscopic, your great-grandfather, microscopic view of racism in his day, which would be totally different than what we would even begin to say we can experience, he also has a view of white people totally different than most.
Yeah.
And that's the God narrative. That's the part that, as a believer, you should not be experiencing racism like everybody else, because you're not up under that same umbrella.
Wow.
You should not be.
Yeah.
The favor of God should be on your life. I don't get scared when a cop pulls me over. He has to answer to the same God that I have to answer to. And even if he has bad intentions, I know the person who controls his heart. So why am I going to fear him? Does that make sense? Not that there isn't cops who do bad things.
Right.
But I've made it this long. You asked me about a gun. I've made it this long without a gun because I know who controls the heart of man. And I'm not being super spiritual. I'm simply saying that I haven't experienced fear like the person who, every time a cop pulls them over, is shaking in their boots. Rewind time 15 years ago, were cops killing Blacks? Yes. But were you afraid to get pulled over? No. What's the difference? TV. What's the difference? Media. Now you've been given a fear. You've been handed a fear, right? Now I have to worry because I've never personally experienced a cop doing this, but I saw it on TV. I heard it on the internet. So therefore, now when the cop comes, I gotta put my hands up. I gotta make sure that I don't go fast for my wallet. That's been handed to me. As a believer, I don't operate in that. I can talk to him with respect, and anything that is going to happen, let me tell you something, child of God, it was going to happen with or without you. That's who we serve, the God who controls both evil and good. Nothing gets by him. It's all in his hands. And so his narrative of racism is not like everybody else would have been, because here it is, you're in business today, multi-million-dollar business, generations later, off of the seed of somebody in a different color skin.
So idea of allies, if you will, and going back to what you said about the fear being instilled, it's also power instilled in others. So we get the fear, they get the power.
Wow. So we got to
say that again. Say that again.
Yeah.
We get the fear, they get the power.
It's a trade.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we need to switch that.
It's like I said
It's a broken
before.
system anyway. I think we need a new, instead of switch it, play their game, it needs to be eliminated and started over.
It's an understanding of what's happening to you versus what's happening for you.
Come on.
And when you see it that way, like it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a choice to believe that everything that's happening to me is happening for me, because the Bible tells me that he always causes me to triumph.
That's right.
And that it's not over until I win. And that all things, not some things, not sometimes, not some of the things, not some of the time, are working for my good, according to his riches and
That's
not
exactly
mine.
right.
You know, we can talk about this for hours, and we've been talking about this going on for, a while. But I want to end on a love note about us. What is, in one sentence, you guys, not a paragraph.
Why you looking at me when
I'm just saying. I'm looking at all y'all.
Look dead at me when you said that.
Sentence. I want you to take some time. I want you to think about, what do you love about the Black community? What do you love when you think about us? What makes you smile? What makes you happy? What encourages you? What gives you that joy, that excitement about us as a community?
No. Before you go
ahead.
can I go last? Because I can't do it in one sentence.
No. Yes.
It's flavor. I'm a New Orleans girl. And Katrina put us all over the world, like P.J. Morton said. And we sprinkled that flavor from sea to shining sea. And in every place in our culture, American history, red or yellow, black or white, you see the influence of the enslaved African people. And no greater time did I see that than how we were spread after Katrina, and how we saw our culture end up in different cities around the world. So for me, what I love about the Black community is its flavor and how it has fed this entire world.
Wesley?
I love how we stand together and pick up each other when, we're down.
Yeah.
And standing together as a unit, whether it's fighting for Black Lives Matter, regardless of, the Black people that may be a part of the movement, they're still Black. They still want to be heard, and they feel as if we're fighting for something, which we are. Intentions are in the right place. You ask yourself, is that good enough? Me personally, that's something that, that person, has to deal with. But us standing together as a unit and also picking each other up, when you're down, I think about it as in the people I have in my circle. I'm big about, surrounding myself with, Black people who uplift me, who push me, who motivates me, who gives me that burst of energy when I'm having a bad day. And I got some great friends who do that. So, saying that to say, just continue to uplift, one another.
Love it. Who's next? Oh, you smiling.
I'm gonna keep it to the one sentence.
Thank you.
I was gonna use that. None of them. One sentence. I was gonna use that, and here you go.
One sentence.
I love how we can make something out of nothing.
Hey.
One sentence. Can you do one sentence? LaDonna, can you do one? Come
maybe.
on.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, it's hard to pick. I love everything about Black culture. I love, just the variance in our experiences. I love our culture. I love that we can, see a Black person walk down the street and do that little head nod. And you know what that means. I love our shared experiences. I know I'm going on. I love HBCUs. I've graduated from 2. I went to Spelman for undergrad and Tennessee State University for my master's. So it's just those shared experiences are something that you can't even explain. You just have to be there to witness it and feel it.
Ladies?
I just love Black people. I think Black people are amazing. Everything that you guys said, creating something out of nothing, being able to connect. I think that's That's probably my favorite thing about Black people. And like I said, being on the HBCU campus is so diverse. We come from all different places, and we have our problems within the community, but everybody has their problems. And it's like, my little brother, I'm gonna talk about him. I'm gonna mess with my little brother, but if anybody else mess with my little brother, it's on sight. It's on sight. And I think it's the same for a Black community. We have our problems, and we have our differences, but at the end of the day, we have each other's back, and we're gonna love each other, and we're gonna connect. And when you see a Black person in public, you're in an all-white space or wherever you're at, it's like, and you know what that means. Or you could give each other the look, and y'all know what that means. You know exactly what you're thinking.
You the last one, preacher. You got 30 seconds. Let's go. Because you can't do a sentence, but I'll give you 30 seconds.
So the word love means value, literally. Anything you value, you cherish. Anything you value, you hide, right? If it's a value, you don't just leave it out in the open and you hide it, because things of value get stolen. So when we say love, we're really saying value. And what I value about us is that we're so valuable, but we just don't know it. The world knows it. They hide our history, value. They steal our identity, value. Everything that makes us valuable are the things that we look down. Oppression, you don't oppress a people who are not a people. Why would you? Oppression is because there's a value there and you don't want them to know they have value. And so what I love about us, what I value about us is just how valuable we are. But the day will come where our eyes will be open and we'll understand who we are. But until that time, the world knows it. The world sees it, and the world will continue to profit off of it and continue to, make money off of it and be successful off of it. We built the world, built it. Do your homework, do your history. Valuable. We are just ignorant as to who we are.
That's why he's a pastor.
I was gonna say, where's the church? I need to know where your church is, because I already know your name now, like you said.
Well, I want to thank you all for
thank you, man.
doing, this is my second Black History panel, definitely not my last. Y'all have just shared with us your thoughts. And I thank each and every single one of you for taking out of your time to come and just share your thoughts, share your opinions, share your wisdom, and share your experiences, And so thank you so much. And to those of you all watching, thank you. Thank you for spending this week with us, listening to our thoughts, listening to our hearts. Share this. It's on both YouTube and podcasts, where you listen to podcasts. So make sure to subscribe on YouTube and subscribe and download and share on the podcast. And I'm going to tag all their information, their Instagrams, Clubhouses, YouTubes, Twitter. We're going to put that in the show description. And here's the key thing I want to leave you all with. Love everyone. At the end of the day, love everyone, no matter their skin color. And I didn't talk at all because I'm just the host. But I would definitely agree with Weston that I have some of the greatest blessings have come from white people. Some of my biggest burdens have come from Black people. But then I've had some bad things with white people as well. And so one thing I've learned is to love all, just as much as I love you. It's your boy Ayo. I'm gonna see you. You already know. On the next show. Peace out.